Hello, so we want to look at a very important topic, which is foreign trade protection. Foreign trade protection is also known as protectionism. It refers to government policies that restrict international trade, largely to help domestic industry. There are two major tools or categories of tools used by governments to protect the economy. One of them is tariff, and the second is trade barrier. What is tariff? In a simplest term, tariff is actually tax. It is that tax imposed by one country on the goods or services imported from another country as a way of influencing that product. It could raise revenue and protect whatever is their interest, maybe competition, maybe health issues. Basically, it adds to the cost of the product being imported into the other country. Now, why do governments insist on using tariff or trade barrier? Quickly, one, it is to protect domestic employment. When you allow your economy wide open and people can import a lot of things, those things that would have been produced locally will be imported outside, and your labor in your local economy will remain unemployed. So it tries to protect employment of the citizens. It also protects consumers by using tariff. Sometimes they feel that a particular product is dangerous and they want to make sure it's not imported, or the quantity imported is reduced, like the challenge governments in different nations are having with tobacco industry. And that is why in some countries, apart from being taxed so much in terms of tariff, they will also make them write on the products the dangers associated with it. So the next one is the issue of infant industry. As a way of driving infant industries to make sure they remain competitive, comparing with well-advanced nations, they bring in this tariff to make sure the infant industries in the domestic economy are protected and helped to grow. However, there are criticisms to this sort of protection strategy. The fact that sometimes you may need to subsidize this infant industry. If you don't do it in a systematic way, they may hardly get to a point where they will compete favorably with their counterparts across the world. And of course, the world has become a global community. The world is flat. Okay, so the argument is that if these industries develop without competition, it becomes very, very difficult for them to produce such high quality that can compete across the world. Now, the other one is issue of national security. Barriers are also used to protect the certain interests in the economy, and also it could be used as a way of retaliation. If a particular country feels that they are not in good terms, they are not in agreement with a neighboring country, they can decide to retaliate based on policy and say no products from this country will be imported. We have types of tariff and non-tariff barriers. They are here listed. Okay, specific tariff and value addition tariff, licenses, import quotas, voluntary exports constraint or restraint, local content requirements. Okay, what is a specific tariff? Is a specific fee levied on 1 unit of an imported good. Okay, so it's specific. Each of the products being imported has a specific tariff on it. And then example is where you could levy a particular pair of shoe being imported from another country to say 15% is levied on this. It happens to a lot of cars imported into African countries. Okay, now the value addition tariff is the one that is levied based on the value of the products being imported. Okay, what in most cases country call VAT. All right, good. Now we want to look at examples of non-tariff barriers. Examples of non-tariff barriers: we have licenses, we have quotas, we have embargo, we have standard, we have administrative. So let's take them one after another. License is one of them. A country may require you to obtain license to be able to import a particular product. For instance, government can say if you don't have license, you don't import sugar into the country. And so they decide on the number of importers they will issue the license to. Again, they may also have issued license, but they say each of the people operating this license are not expected to import anything that is more than certain quantity required. Okay, that's quota. And then the other one is embargo. It could be total embargo on importation from a particular country. Maybe they are in a union and a country is not in agreement with the union again in terms of union or regional blocks, and the members could say embargo is placed on this country until they confirm with the standard or agreement. And then the other one is standard. Some products cannot be imported except they meet certain minimum requirements. That is why you see a lot of products from some Asian countries, they can't get into USA except they meet that requirement. And they will tell you produced for United States or meeting European Union standards. So those standards are placed. Okay, then the other one is administrative or bureaucratic delay or bottleneck at entry point. Government may say, okay, you are free to import, yet you get to the wharf, you get to the wharf where your ship has landed, and they are not able to clear your ship, increasing the cost of the product you are importing, frustrating your efforts to a point where next time you wouldn't want to import into that country. And then there is import deposit. They could say, okay, you are free to import cement in our country, but if you want to import cement, you must deposit certain amount of money with the banks as a kind of surety, and that amount could be as high as the cost of what you are importing. So sometimes it may become difficult for certain organizations to meet that requirement, and is a way of blocking that importation. The other one is foreign exchange restriction and foreign exchange control. Countries can say, look, you can't import except you use our currency. And so it becomes a challenge for countries that are not able to meet that requirement. Now, who benefits from trade protection? The benefits are uneven. I mean, everybody is not equally benefiting. For instance, when there is tariff like tax, governments will increase revenue based on importation into the local economy. Now, the domestic industry will also be enjoying less competition, reduced competition, and then that could increase their price, which ordinarily, if there's competition, it could crash. Now, unfortunately, the consumers, both individual consumers and businesses, are paying high price for goods that may not really be quite of good quality if you compare with counterparts from across the world. So to keep it short, tariff and non-tariff tends to benefit producers and tends to be anti-consumers. Now, keeping this issue differently, putting it differently, who benefits from trade protection? Although domestic producers are better off, domestic consumers are worse off in most cases as a result of this kind of protection given, and then you could see inferior goods being sold to the citizens. So protection policies therefore tends to favor the businesses, the companies, and not the consumers in the economy. What is the bottom line here? Free trade benefits, that's the argument. Free trade benefits consumers through increasing choice and reducing price. But because the global economy, brings with it a lot of uncertainties and challenges, government try to make sure they protect their sovereignty by imposing tariff and other trade barriers to protect what is happening within their local economy. There is serious delicate between the balance of pursuing government policy and achieving efficiency in the economy. The government is trying to protect employment within the economy, and also trying to make sure there is efficiency in the working of the system. That's a challenge. So there is always a trade-off in whichever direction you decide to go. If you decide to close up your economy, there is a trade-off. If you decide to open up your economy, there is a trade-off. But I think there is an important book that people who are interested in this study may want to read. The book that is called Kicking Away the Ladder, where the author was trying to explain that some economies that developed actually developed when they closed up the economy. Now they have produced a lot of things and they are looking for market. They started championing globalization, asking all the economies to open up. So the argument is, what if an economy decides to close up as a way of making sure they develop locally? Well, it depends at what level of development that economy is operating. So this is where we want to stop here. You may want to bring up your own argument on what should be the situation. Should your country protect totally, or based on segregation, based on sectorial protection, or based on product, or should it open up widely to interact with the global economy? That's a question for you. Thank you for joining us in this class. Cheers.